believers gathering here in Jerusalem is to affirm our common civilization based on shared values and the timeless principles, and acknowledging the foundational rule of law which protects life, liberty, and private property. As we talked about this morning, in fact, regarding the 21st centuries we face, we truly are at the crossroads. And as we are gathered here today in Jerusalem, it is so easy to gather together in Washington, D.C. or Brussels or elsewhere to say that we support Israel. But we do thank our friends that are here from America and from Europe to being here on Israeli ground and to say and stand firm with Israel to say we support Israel's sovereignty. At this moment, I would like to introduce our speaker. We have a number of speakers, including Dr. Jerry Johnson from NRB, as well as Paul Nuttall, a member of the European Parliament from the United Kingdom. And our first speaker this evening is Major General Gadi Shamni. He's a retired general of the Israel Defense Forces and a former Israeli military attaché in the United States. In 1977, General Shamy was drafted into the Paratroopers Brigade, which he stayed in for much of his early career. In 2001, he was promoted to Brigadier General, and in 2005 to Major General when he became the military secretary to the Prime Minister. In May 2007, Shamy was appointed head of Central Command, replacing Yair Neiv. In October 2009, he became Israel's military attaché in the United States. General Shamy has studied at the IDF Command and Staff College and the United States Army War College. He has received a bachelor's in economics and political science and a master's in national security. General Shamy also graduated from the U.S. Army Special Forces course. It is a delight to have you here tonight joining us at the Jerusalem Leaders Summit. Thank you indeed, General Shamy.
Good evening. My wife, Hadass, and I are delighted to be here with you. I was given a very short time. You know, for generals, it's a big problem because we love to speak. We love to make speeches. I don't know if you know the story about the general, the major, and the corporal that were in captivity, and there was a decision to execute them. So they asked them, "What is your last request?" The general said, "Get me an audience. I would like to make a speech." The major wanted to have a good meal to speak on the phone to his wife. And when they went to the corporal, he said, "Please execute me before the general speaks." So, you know, so I will do my best in this short time I was asked to talk a little bit about the security situation. You know, to talk about the security situation in Israel, you can talk for a week of seminar, and it won't be enough. It's a very complicated issue, but I will concentrate mainly on the current issues, the Palestinian issues, the things that we see in Jerusalem and all around the country. Actually, it's an outcome of a deterioration that continues in the last 2 years. You know, we had the issue with the Palestinian, the conflict is, we have always ups and downs. The second intifada, which we still remember very fresh. More than 1,000 Israeli citizens were killed in exploded buses and shopping centers and you name it. In 2007, when I came into the Central Command, it was just a month before the coup in Gaza, when Hamas took over Gaza, and there was a huge rift created between the Fatah that is controlled by Abu Mazen and the Hamas. At that time, we decided that it's the right time to go back to cooperate with the Palestinians. And we did restart cooperation with them. They came with a different attitude, different than what we saw in previous times. I commanded the Gaza division back in 2003, 2004, so I know the Palestinian issue not bad. So they came with a different attitude at that time. Together with the US support, we constructed a lot of few battalions with General Keith Dayton. I don't know if you heard that name, but we did establish good relationship with the Palestinians, good cooperation, and they were involved in thwarting terrorism and maintaining law and order. So the situation was very stable. In the last 2 years, there was a very slow deterioration that now became much more problematic. I would say that we are on a very slippery slope now because of the fact that this momentum was boosted by the religious issue of Jerusalem, and that it brought also the Arab Israelis into the conflict, and because of the fact that in the first time after years, since 2007, the Fatah, which is controlled by Abu Mazen, is involved in creating this atmosphere. So that's the main problem. We call these attacks atmosphere attacks, because of the fact that the atmosphere that is being created in the media, incitement, you hear a lot about this incitement. That's what's happening, the social media, in the mosques, everywhere. It causes people, relatively young people, to take a knife and to go out and stab people, as you saw. Unfortunately, I don't see how things will change currently, because if you want to change this situation, you need to change the atmosphere. Now, how do you change the atmosphere? You have to talk. Talk with whom? It's a big problem right now. I think that the Israeli government did a lot in order to go towards the Palestinians, to make concessions, for example, with the bodies that will return now, the bodies of the stabbers, of the terrorists that were brought back despite the anger of the families of the soldiers that are, their sons' bodies are still kept by the Hamas in Gaza. So Israel did a lot. I think that the Palestinians are not able to make the shift, and it's a very difficult situation. Among the security organizations, there is still an understanding that they should prevent as much as possible. Now, they have a problem because they are being considered as traitors, and there is a drift of the Palestinian forces. Also, slowly, we see more and more people from the Palestinian forces that are involved in attacks. So it's a very delicate issue now. The only way, as I said, is to talk. Political leadership, religious leadership. Religious leadership can play a major role here. And it happened in the past. I don't know if you know the chief rabbi that passed away a year ago, Ovadia Yosef, the chief rabbi in Israel. In other times, he initiated meetings between religious leaders, Muslims, Jewish, and Christian, in order to calm things down. I don't see how things like this will happen right now. So I think that we are expecting a tense next months, maybe years. I don't know how it will. It's very hard to forecast how things will develop. Now, I think that Israel is dealing with those things in the right way. I really regret the miserable remark about the excessive use of force of the State Department, which is not. It's not even around. The IDF. The IDF has a lot of restraint. We risk our soldiers in order to not to hit uninvolved people. So this remark was miserable, and I am happy that it was taken back, but it caused its damage. One more thing that bothers us a lot is Jordan. You know, this situation is very problematic for Jordan. Jordan, who has a lot of Palestinians in Jordan, and a very strong movement of the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan. The religious issue, the unrest in Judea and Samaria, in the territories, is influencing Jordan. Jordan officially is responsible for the Temple Mount, but actually they cannot exercise their responsibility because of the fact that the Israeli Muslim movement took over and the Palestinian Authority took over. Now, I think that the government will make efforts to bring the Jordanians back to the stage, to be more active, and it might change something to the better. Now, if I talk about a threat, what is a big threat to Israel in my mind, in my view? To come to the conclusion that a permanent agreement between Israel and the Palestinians is not feasible would be a great mistake. I think that Israel has to exhaust every effort, every option in order to reach that situation where Israelis and Palestinians are apart, that they have their own state or whatever, the two-state solution. I think that this solution still exists. It's not easy. It will be very complicated. It will take a long time. And the most important thing is that Israel will not give up anything that has to do with Israel's security. This is something that we cannot give up. It's a very small country. We don't have too much debt. And we have a bad experience from the withdrawal from Gaza, even though that, I commanded Gaza and I prefer the situation now on the situation then, when we had settlements inside Gaza, soldiers inside Gaza. I think that the IDF, the Israeli security apparatus, knows how to deal with such issues. We can contain. Those who say that we cannot contain those kind of threats, I think that they are mistaken. We can contain. For Israel, it's always better to have somebody that is responsible, to have an address. If you don't have an address that you can refer to, if you don't have somebody that can enforce law and order on the ground, it means that you have to do it yourself. And we don't want to be there. We were there in Gaza, and we were in the Palestinian cities. It's a great advantage when they do it for themselves, and you need to find the right solutions for the security issues. Now, when I was a Central Command commander, I did it with General John Allen, who I met just 2 weeks ago. That General John Allen was a special envoy. He's a special envoy of the White House for fighting ISIS right now. He's leaving office on the 13th, but prior to that, he was the special envoy to Israel, and he came up with a plan for security arrangements, which is, you can't leave the disclosure on this plan, so we cannot talk about it. This plan was rejected by the government of Israel, but I'm saying that there are many good things in that plan, and these problems are solvable. It's a matter of decision, goodwill, and leadership. Unfortunately, we are lacking some of these elements right now. Other than that, I think that what you do is great to support Israel the way you do. I'm used to people from the United States of America that support Israel, but Europeans, it's a great issue. I mean, Bravo to the Europeans. And I just want to leave you with an optimistic statement. You know, Israel is a very strong country. Israel is a very powerful country, not only militarily. First, our morals and values. Second, our technology, the people's capabilities, the military. Israel will exist here forever. We need to make sure that we prepare this country for the next generations the best we can. And peace is a very essential component in that regard. Thank you very much.